So now we're going to hear from CE from Nigeria. CE, could you tell us a bit about women's rights in Nigeria and about how you came to find out about the worries about sex-based rights, women's sex-based rights?
Women's rights in Nigeria are, let me just put it half and half. In some ways, we are quite advanced, in other ways, not. So it's still a very patriarchal society. Women do have rights, but what I would say is that culture and tradition plays a really strong role in sort of suppressing those rights. So even if the rights are there and accessible, most women will not access it because of culture and tradition and religion. So things like, let me give you an example. I just found out in 2019 that when you did get divorced in Nigeria, if you were legally married, you have a right to your half of your husband's property if it was, gotten within the marriage. This law has been on the book since the 1800s. No woman has ever fought for that. Just one woman did in 2019, and then everybody's like, oh my goodness, the law has been there. So you can imagine even having the laws on the books, but nobody bothering. So it's really very strange in some ways. It's a very patriarchal society. It's very, very religious. So when you're talking about even like gay rights, and being gay is illegal in Nigeria, punishable by is it death or 14 years imprisonment, one of the above. I think it's 14 years imprisonment. So being transgender is like a little bit not even in the lexicon, let's put it that way. There is one very prominent male to female transgender person, but he's an entertainer. So he's there, he's very visible. And what concerns me is that as much as he has a right to be who he is, he has made very misogynistic statements, and people are sort of feeling bad and not quite realizing what is going on with regards to, if you say he's a woman, then what does that mean for real women? And that's sort of how, that's the situation in Nigeria. Then how I found you guys was, I'm really interested in women's rights, and I follow a lot of people from different countries that talk about sex-based rights and women's sex-based oppression, including, the effects of prostitution. And somehow, I can't remember how I stumbled across you guys on Twitter and sort of following.
Yeah, so you came across us, the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights on Twitter, and then did you, you've been following some of the debates of the problems that have been happening. Is it an issue that you think will happen in Nigeria later on, or is it, or develop? Or do you think that the culture is so different at the moment, it won't happen?
It isn't coming, not now, because of how patriarchal the society is. It isn't coming. But what my concern is that there are a lot of Nigerians living in the UK, a lot. There's a lot of Nigerians in Europe. Nigeria contests in the Olympics and, those sort of things. So if sports goes, we are all going to be affected one way or another. I don't think it's going to come when it comes to the laws, because like I said, if being gay is illegal, transgender is just one step too far. I don't think it's coming, but I think it's going to affect us one way or another. And that's why I'm very concerned. And then with regards to the backlash against feminism in general, it's still going to affect us. So if Western feminists are being bashed, which is usually the ground zero, the backlash is going to spread, is going to get worse, because men have a way of organizing so much better, and it will affect other things, maybe not through the transgenderism, but with other things as well.
Yeah. I have another question related to that. In the United Nations and fund-giving bodies like the Ford Foundation seem to be promoting women's rights, but they tie it to trans rights. So quite a lot of women in Africa are saying that they have to agree that trans women are women in order to get funding from the Ford Foundation or the United Nations. Have you found that in Nigeria, that there are some agencies promoting it?
I would say not at the moment. Maybe because of COVID, not at the moment. And I think that in its patriarchal nature, The Nigerian government responded very aggressively when, you know, gay rights was being pushed. And I think that if they do that, there might be a backlash. However, a lot of these foundations are sort of private, and they will, it's not going to be visible, but they're going to have to say that. And of grants and donuts and things like that, a lot of things end up slipping under the radar because people want the money or they need the money. If WHO is already saying things like that, United Nations is saying things like that, then basically it is going to happen. It's just a question of when.